see. So you had created the account in, let us say, 9 services. So maybe for security reason, what you have done, for AWS, you have given different password. For Jenkins, you have given different password. For HR application, you had given different password. And for those new 6 more application, you had given different password. So 6 plus 3, 9. Oh my God. So it will be very difficult for any employee to remember all this password. But now their life is easy. Even now, administrator is also happy because he will not be creating all the user accounts on all those 9 applications. And similarly, users will definitely not going to need to remember their password in 9 different applications. Okay. So these services, IDPs especially, LDAP as well as Active Directory, right? So these store username and password in central directories. So this can be your LDAP, this can be your Active Directory. Now this central directory is connected to all of the system in such a way that from this central directory, now it is connected to all those services. So from this central directory, a user can log in with the same username and password to all of these systems. Okay. So this is more efficient, isn't it now? Now from LDAP, there will be a trust to all these services. Now how these services will be allowing that authentication, there comes the trust relationship. So this LDAP and Active Directory will have a trust relationship with these services. Okay. So when a user joins or leaves the organization now in this system, the administrator just need to modify the LDAP system here. Okay, he will not be removing the user from all those systems. He just need to make changes in that service provider. Even let us say you have added 6 more systems, services, 6 more systems or services. Now the user account is already there. You need not make any changes. Okay. So you just establish the trust relationship. That's all. All the users will be, according to their permission, definitely will be able to access those applications as well. Okay. So now, if you think of this, I have already told you LDAP is there, Active Directory is there. These are the various solutions available to store the centralized users. Okay. Even we are having Red Hat Identity Management. Okay. This is one service, Red Hat Identity Management for Linux, or even we can use free IPA. Again, this is used for Linux. So these are some examples of these identity services. Now let us talk about federation. Now this federation allows external identities. Those are known as federated users to have secure access in your AWS account. Now I'm talking federation from AWS perspective. Okay, now let us say this is my account. Okay, this is my AWS account. I am having my identity and access management service, and I have created 500 employees account in my IAM maybe. But there is one person XYZ who doesn't belong to my organization. Okay. So maybe on contract basis, or maybe for some project, maybe he needs access to my AWS account. So what is the solution now? So one solution is I'm going to create his account in my identity and access management. I will give a password to that user and I will give appropriate permission. This is always a solution, right? This is always a solution. But it works well if this is a single user or maybe few users. What if I am having thousands users, 1,000 external users are there, and those 1,000 users need temporary access in my AWS. Those 1,000 external users need some temporary access to my AWS account. Now, am I going to create those 1,000 users account in my AWS? Definitely not. This will not work. And there comes the federation. Now, federation means giving access to these external users to your AWS account. Now, these external identities, now I will have some external identity, right? So this external identity is going to authenticate those 1,000 users before they access my AWS account. Now, these identity providers can be, now it can be the Facebook, it can be Google, it can be Amazon.com, right? So you must have seen, let me just take you to that website. You must have seen that website. For example, if I just take you to Quora. Okay, if I just go to this website, see, now either I need to create my account here, email, by providing my email address and password. Okay, otherwise I can use my Google authentication. Now there is a trust relationship between the Google and the Quora, between Facebook and the Quora. So what is happening? So Google is authenticating that user, and Google and Quora are trusting with each other. And now using that trust relationship, that person with his Google credential will be able to access the Quora. So now see again, some people like this one, okay, but personally I don't trust this as well. Okay, so there are always some security risks associated if you are using the authentication. So let us say if Quora gets compromised, or maybe Facebook gets compromised, then both my accounts will be in problem. Okay, so that is definitely one risk associated there. But from convenience point of view, yes, that is definitely the convenient option. And that is the single sign-on now, folks, right? So I am not going to create my account on each and every server. So using some central authentication mechanism, okay, so I can log on to the AWS. Now in this, we will have some workflow maybe. Now how it works. Now let us say in the first scenario, we had taken Jenkins, we had taken AWS, and let us say some HR application. So how it will work if I am having the identity provider. Okay, so now there is an identity provider like Active Directory, or maybe Facebook, and maybe Google something. Okay, so here Active Directory and LDAP will be more appropriate one. Okay, so now what will happen? The user is there. The user will first authenticate himself in this identity provider. So this is known as IDP. Okay, so the user is going to first authenticate to IDP. And once he has successfully authenticated, then he can make request to the service. Okay, so the authentication is granted, and then he can access various services. Okay, and sometimes we are having the identity broker concept as well. Identity broker always sits between any service. Now let us say AWS and let us say this Active Directory. Okay, so this is Active Directory. So this is my company's Active Directory. I'm having the employees, let us say 5,000 employees account is already there in Active Directory, and all those 5,000 employees now wants to, because my company has switched to cloud, all those 5,000 user needs to access AWS. Now again the reverse question. Now am I going to create all those 5,000 employees account in AWS? Again, it will not scale, definitely, right? So what is the solution now? I can use this federation here. Okay, so I can use some identity broker. Now we can call it as a identity broker. So I will use the same Active Directory, and using the same username and password, my employees will be able to access the AWS. Okay, so this broker is going to have a trust, going to create a trust relationship between my company's Active Directory as well as the AWS. Okay, folks. So this is what happens in single sign-on. Now let us go back over here. Single sign-on. With single sign-on, user log in once and gain access to different application without the need to re-enter the login credential for each application. Single sign-on. What is SSO? A cloud-based service that you can use to centrally manage SSO to all AWS accounts, including user permission and organization. SSO includes the following common feature: one-click access to AWS account and cloud application, ability to create and manage users and group, compatibility with common cloud application, compatibility with existing identity and access management, roles, users, and policies. Federated user is a form of single sign-on. One account is used for multiple services. I think I have just given you the example. So a user authenticates to a system. So what actually happens, in a federation? So user authenticates to some system. Let us say this is Facebook or Google something, right? So the user obtains a token from that system. Now the user is going to present the token to third-party system. So maybe it is my AWS or something. The third-party system uses the token to validate the user, and if the token is valid, the user is granted access to the remote system without authenticating again. So beneath the scene, this process works like this. Federated user is a type of SSO implementation that is used between web identities. It uses a token to verify user identity before distinct systems. So see, I will get a token from, this is all this happening beneath the scene. Okay, you are not going to see that token manually or something, right? So when I use that Facebook option, I am actually authenticating with Facebook, and then Facebook is going to provide me the session token. Yes, lucky, perfectly correct. JWT token. Okay, so it is the same thing. With SSO, individuals can sign into different networks or services by using the same group or personal credential. For example, by using SSO, you can use your Google account credential to sign in Facebook. Isn't it working? You can use the Google to let you sign into the Facebook. So there is a trust definitely. Google is going to provide me JWT type of token. I will be presenting those tokens to Facebook, and because they are trusting each other, I will get authenticated. Now in AWS, we are just the example. I was talking about this broker, right? I was talking about this broker. So who is the middleman who is going to authenticate these Active Directory users to AWS? There must be some mechanism. When I'm saying they are trusting each other, so there must be some mechanism, and that service is known as Cognito. It is an Amazon service that provides user management, authentication, and authorization for your web and mobile app. So somebody from the outside world want to access my AWS. He is not my company's employee, right? So what I can do, I can use Cognito service there. So you can use Amazon Cognito by signing in with username and password through third-party website. Amazon Cognito includes two main components: user pool, which provides a sign up and sign in option for application user, and identity pools to grant user access to AWS services. So in short, we are going to have the registration options of the user here. And once that is done, the authorization, I will say what permissions you are going to give those users. So merely they have authenticated with Facebook or maybe Google doesn't mean that they will have all the access to all the AWS services, right? They must have some authorization there. So limited permission I am going to give you. So there comes the identity pool. Okay, how IAM works. Identity and access management is a service that helps you securely control access to resources by using authentication and authorization. Authentication use IAM to control who can sign in, and authorization use IAM to control who has access to resources. Your resource can be your EC2 instance, the DynamoDB table. Your actions could be create and delete something, authorization. So you are having some policy, and the principal, you are just providing maybe your username and password, or maybe some multi-factor authentication. Okay, so see, first the authentication will happen, then the authorization will come in picture. According to the authorization, you are going to get action to perform certain actions on certain resources, right? So this is what happens in our AWS. Okay. So what are the three primary tasks of identity management? Authentication, authorization, and accounting. What are the three types of authentication factors? Something you know, something you have, something you are. Federated users are a form of single sign-on. True or false? Definitely it is true. Okay, so this is all for this module. We are yet to take lots of things from identity and access management. So this is what we have done. Okay, so let us first go for the KC. Okay, what is the goal of authorization in identity management? Authorization. Yes. Authorization means evaluating the permission. Okay. So authentication means authenticating the user, who you are, right? But what you can do, that is authorization. Perfect. Third option. Which option is an authentication factor for something that you are? You are.
Fingerprint.
Yes, fingerprint. Which type of attack uses a predefined list of words as password to attempt to log in onto a system? It has to be dictionary attack, right? So it has to be dictionary attack. Very good. What format does AWS Identity and Access Management use to define authorization rule?
JSON form.
Yes, it is the JSON policy. Okay, folks, we will talk about. Okay, so I think I have already shown you that JSON policy initially, how the policies are. When we have just elaborated ourselves in the very first module, if I am not wrong. Okay, so I just want to cross check with it whether I have completed it not. Definitely, I will be doing it once again for you, but in our cloud foundations. Okay, so when I had covered, I guess. I don't remember. Fine. Did I show you how that policies work, folks? Anybody can tell me how to create the policy? What is uh, AWS managed policy? What is customer managed policy? And what is inline policy? Did I show you that? Or you want me to show it again? Okay, I think it is always a good idea because I even don't remember. And it will not definitely be a waste if I talk about it. It is very crucial thing. Okay, so that we are going to see. Okay, don't worry. I will take it again. I will initially, we know very well how to create the user. Now, what I want to show you. So see, first of all, I will show you authentication and then I will go for authorization. So if I just go to my IAM service here, then I will show you what that JSON policy is. So let me create a user for the time being. I think I have already shown you, but anyway. Now let us say this is test user 1. Now I want to give this user console access. Okay. And it is a IAM user, standard user. Fine. Let me give some password. I will remove this option. User must create a new password at next sign in because I don't want to do the same thing again. And let me just click next. And now see, there comes the permissions now. So I can give the user permission in AWS in 3 ways. Either I can add that user to group, or I can copy permission from somewhere with already policies or permissions are created, copy all group membership, attach managed policies and inline permission from existing user. Okay, I can do that. Otherwise, I can attach policies directly. But what I will do, I will not do anything. I will not add that user to any group. I am having multiple groups created, but I will not give any permission to that user. I will simply click next and let me create the user. Fine. So, okay. So I already know the password. Now this is the user which I have just created, test user. So now in the security credentials, I will get the link. So I have to share this link with that user, right? And the associated password. So let me just copy this link and let me try to log in with that user now. Okay, so this is the first time the user has logged into this account. And as we all know, AWS works on the principle of default deny. So what exactly it means? By default, you will not get any permission unless and until the permissions are explicitly given to you, you will not get anything. So this is something which is known as implicit deny. So folks, try to understand this. AWS works on implicit deny principle. So it means that by default, everything is denied. Unless and until you explicitly give permission to something, the user will not be able to do anything. Now see, so we have not given any permission to this user. So it means the implicit deny will come in picture. Let me go to any service. I will get access denied. Okay. I'm not getting any access to EC2 service. Similarly, if I go to S3 service, I will get the access denied message. Not only EC2, not only S3, it will be applicable for each and every service. The user does not, he has authenticated. Okay. He has already authenticated himself by giving the correct username and password, but no authorization is there. It means the user does not have any permission. So if I just go to the bucket, see, even I don't have permission to list the bucket. I do have 2 buckets created in my account. Okay. But I don't have permission to see those buckets as well. Who? Test user. So now let us go back to our AWS console and let us try to give that user some permission. So one way of giving permission or the good way is you create a group, give permission to the group and add user to the group. So let us follow that. Let me go to user group, create group, and let me give some name. Let us say this is test group. Okay, test group. So initially I will just create the group. Let me just create an empty group. Okay, so the test group is just created. This one, I think I have created this today. Okay, let me remove this to avoid the confusion. Okay, so which just created. Okay, so no permissions are there. Let me go to this test group. Let me go to permissions. And now I will assign some permission. So initially we will follow simple way. Okay. So then we will see how to create the policy. So I will click the option attach policies. And which policy I want to attach? Maybe I want to give S3 full access permission. Am I audible, everybody?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Yeah, fine, fine. Again, I got the message that my internet connection is not stable. Fine. So now what I will do, I will give this permission to that group. Amazon S3 full access. Let me add permission. Okay, now see. What I have done, I have created the empty group. The name of the group is test group. And just now I have just given a single permission to that group. What is the permission I have given? I can see it from here. I have just given S3 full access permission. And now what I will do, I will add that user to this group. Which user? Test user. So how? There are multiple ways of doing this, but let us follow this process. I will go to this test user. I will go to group. Okay. And right now you can see there is no group. Now I will click the option add user to group. And which group I want to add him? I want to add him in test group. And let me click. You can add user to multiple groups. Okay. You can add user to multiple groups. Fine. Now I have just added that user to test group. Test user. Fine. Now let me go back to that user page and let me just refresh this one. Okay. Let me just go back to the bucket once again. Or S3 service. And now see. Okay. Now I am able to see the buckets. Now, initially it was giving me, I was not having permission, right? Even to list the bucket, but now I'm getting. But I have just given permission to S3. What about other services? If I go to EC2, if I just refresh this page, again the error has to be there because I have not given that permission, right? So now if I go to that AWS and if I go to that once again group, and I just want to show you the policy now, which is attached to that. S3 full access, right? And I want to see this permission. So I can click on this. Now see, this is the policy. So what it is doing, actually, It is giving allow permission. To which actions? All action. Why all? Because we have selected S3 full access, right? So that is S3 asterisk. Otherwise, see. So this S3 is the service, and after the colon, you specify the action. For example, I just want to give read permission, read object, get object, put object, delete object. These are various actions associated with S3 bucket. But if you have given asterisk, that is star here, it means you are giving permission to all the actions. Okay. So first of all, it is allow. So effect can be either allow or deny. There cannot be any third word here. It can be either allow or deny. So effect is allow and action is S3 and asterisk. It means I have given permission to all the actions related to S3. But to which bucket? Again, all the buckets. So this is the example of the JSON. Okay. Now, as I told you, the user can belong to multiple groups. Now, let me go to another group. Let me create one more group. And let us say this is group 2. Okay. And let me add that test user 1 again in this group. And now here what I will do, okay, I will create it manually. Don't worry. Let me create that group. It did not got created. Just 5 minutes and we will be done. Okay. So let us say this is group 2. Okay. And let me add this test admin user to this group. Not test admin, sorry. Test user 1 to this group. Let me just quickly create the group. Now regarding permission. Now what I will do? I will give deny permission here. So now see the thing. What will happen? Now the test user 1 is there. Okay. Now I have created 2 groups. Now this group we already know it is having S3 full access permission, and that test user 1 is here. But now I am creating this group 2, and to this group 2 I am going to give S3 deny permission. And this user is again in both the groups, right? So now what will happen? Through one group he is getting S3 full access permission, and through other group he is getting S3 deny permission. So what will happen in this situation? Deny will always override allow permission. So this will not be effective. So we are just going to say it practically. Okay, so I have just created this group 2, right? So now I will go to permissions again. Attach policies, and I will create policy. Okay, I will create policy. Okay, let me first select the service. So it is S3 service. I will select S3, and now I want to give deny permission, right? So what I will do, otherwise if I just follow the left hand side, it will be the allow permission. For example, if I select this, it will be the allow action. But now to this group, I especially want to deny permission, switch to deny. Okay, now it is deny. So what deny? I want to deny all S3 actions. Okay, all S3 actions. Okay, and again resources, let us say all S3 bucket, and that's all. Let me click next. Create policy. Let me give some name to this policy. Let us say it is S3 deny all policy. Okay, so I have created it. It is not the inbuilt one. I have created it myself. And now I will attach this policy to that group. Let me first search this. S3 deny all. Okay, so I will attach this policy to that group now. How? I will go to that group again, user group, group 2, permission, add permission, attach policy. Which policy? S3 deny. Let me search and yes, add permission. Fine. Now see folks, now we have actually created the scenario. If I go to users here, who is the user in that group? Test user 1. And what is the permission associated with that group? S3 deny all. Similarly, if I go to that previous group, we have already tested that, right? The name of the group was test group. Again, who was the user in that group? Test user 1. What was the permission? Full access. Now, this is something which is contradictory, right? So, through one group, the user is getting full access permission. Through other group, he is getting deny permission for S3. Now, what will be the outcome? Let us check. If I go to this account again, let me just go to S3 service once again. Sometimes permission will take time, okay, to get reflected here. So you need to refresh the page or something. Okay, let me go to buckets. See, okay. So just now I was able to see the bucket, but again I am getting the error that you don't have permission to list the bucket. Is it clear, folks? This is what I mean by deny is always going to override the allow permission. So it doesn't make much sense here, but I just wanted to elaborate this concept. So how deny will always take precedence over the allow permission. So we created the user, we created the group, and we have attached the policy to the group. One more thing I want to elaborate today, that this is always a good practice, definitely, that you create the group and add user to the group. This is the best practice. But permissions can even be assigned to the users directly. Now, if I go to this users group or to this user, test user. So if I go to this test user 1, and if I go to permissions here, okay, so he is getting two permission, S3 full access, but that is through test group. He is getting S3 deny, that is through group 2. But I can directly attach permission to that other user as well. Now what I will do, I will add permission. And maybe I want to attach policies directly. And here I will give, let us say, administrator access. Now see, now can anybody tell me what will happen? Now see, the user is having administrator access directly. Okay. So this is the direct policy attached to the user. It is not through group. Okay. It is not through group. And S3 full access coming to that user from test group, and S3 deny policy coming to that user from group 2. Now can anybody tell me what will be the outcome? What permission the user will get? Any guess? Any idea? Yes?
Administrator access.
Administrator access. Lucky is saying he is going to get administrator access. Any other answers? Let us check. Okay, let us do it. So let us verify whether Lucky is correct or Lucky is wrong. Let me go back to that user. Okay. So according to Lucky, he is going to get S3 administrator access, right? So if I go to EC2 dashboard and if I refresh his page, he is now getting permission to EC2 service, right? If I go to S3 bucket and if I refresh this, just hold on. I need to log out and log in first, okay? So sometimes it becomes difficult. Let me have the link first. Okay, EC2, I'm getting the access. But now if I go to S3, and if I go to the bucket, again I will getting the deny. Now Lucky, can you tell me what is happening? Come on. So according to you,
Overwriting, ma'am.
okay. Now see what is happening in simple words. So S3 was explicitly denied, right? S3 service was explicitly denied. So that's why he is not getting access to S3. But other permissions are not explicitly denied. Because S3 was explicitly denied, the user will not get any permission for S3. It was just S3. Okay, but otherwise the user will get permission for all the services. Okay, so that is the reason he is able to see the EC2 dashboard. Okay, he is able to see EC2 dashboard. Not only that, if I take to some other services, now let us say I want to go to RDS. Okay, just S3 was the overlapping permission. It was explicit deny. So if the explicit deny permission is there, that will definitely get denied. Okay, but see, now I am getting permission to create the database. So except S3, the user is getting all the permission. So what was the scenario we have handled? The scenario we have handled is something like this. Test user was there. He was part of two groups. Through one group, he was getting S3 full access, and through other group he was getting S3 deny. But to that user we had attached admin permission. So as we know, administrator access should give all the permission to that user, and that was the answer given by Lucky, right? He was right to some extent, but because S3 was explicitly denied, except S3 he will get all access. Is it clear?
Yes.
So I think okay, folks. Anyway, let us stop for today, and I will continue this topic. Tomorrow, you will not have your session. The reason is that I guess at 3 you are having some meeting, at 4 you are having some other meeting as well. Okay. So tomorrow I will not deliver your technical session. Technical session will not be there in the afternoon. So you have some other stuff for tomorrow's session. So day after tomorrow, I will again continue with this stuff. So before I conclude today's session, do you have any question for me? Is it possible for you to go for this KC by chance? So in that case, we'll be able to complete this KC at least. Can I take few minutes for this KC?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay. So at least we will be able to complete this topic then. Thanks. Okay. So let me quickly go through this once again. Let us check whether we'll be able to answer all the questions. I don't know why I got logged out from this. So you can centrally manage authentication and access to AWS resources. I think I'm missing something. So I think I had started this one. Please help me in this. We were elaborating this, I guess.
Ma'am, we completed 288 kc.
We completed 288. Okay, fine, fine. Thank you. We completed 288. So I think this is the topic, right? This is the topic I have to cover. Okay. So you can centrally manage authentication and access to AWS web services. Use a feature of AWS account at no charge. So IAM service is free service. Okay, you do not pay anything for this service. You can create user groups and roles. Roles we will see in our next session. You can apply policies. So just now I have shown you how to apply policies to the entities. So today I have shown you how to apply policy directly to the user, and secondly through groups as well to control their access to AWS resources. What are the features of IAM? You can assign granular permission. You can secure access for various application. You can go for identity federation, and there is integration with other AWS services. So you can control access to multiple services using this identity and account management. AWS account root user has full access to all the resources. And there is no way to control actions of this root user. Okay. So that is the reason you should not use that root user for day-to-day tasks. Okay. So it is always a good idea that once you have created your AWS account, the only user account you will be having is this root account. So the very first thing you are going to do is you are going to create one standard user for yourself and give that user administrator's permission. And once that is done, if at all you have created the security ID, access key ID and secret key for this user, you should lock those credentials. Okay. You should lock this user account, and you should only use this account only for those tasks which cannot be done using the standard. Okay. So that's what they have mentioned here. To go through this once. Now comes the security credentials. That is the username and password maybe, or access key and secret. Now see what are the types of credentials. So in this table, let me tell you. Okay. Email ID and password is associated with the account root user. Let me show you. So if I just log out from my account here. So this is my root account. So I'm doing everything using my root account. So if I want to sign into the console, then see, I am going to use this root user or IAM user. There are two options to log in. Either you can use root user or you can use IAM user. So if I use root user, I have to provide the email ID. And if I'm using IAM user instead of root user maybe, okay. So if I'm using IAM user, let me select next. Sorry, just hold on. IAM user, I have to provide the account ID. Okay, so in that case, I should provide the account ID, and then the username and password will come in picture. Okay, so I need to find out the account ID as well. So let me just quickly show you this. So if I just don't remember my account ID. Okay, so let me just quickly copy this account ID. Okay, so I have copied it. Let me sign out, sign in. And this time I will select IAM user. I have to provide the account ID and next. And now it is asking me username. So let us say this is test user 1. And then I have to provide the password. You got it? You got it, the difference, how to sign in with the root user? For root user, you have to provide the email ID and the password. And for standard user, you are going to provide username and password. So email address and password is associated with root account. IAM username and password is used to access the management console. And apart from that, we already know access and secret keys. So typically used with AWS command line interface, a programmatic access. Okay, so that is known as programmatic access, even APIs as well as software development kit. We also have multi-factor authentication. I think I've already demonstrated it to you. If not, I will show you in my upcoming session. And key pairs. Okay, so key pairs are used for certain services like EC2. So when you are going to establish the SSH connection with the EC2 instance, you have to provide the public key, private key pair. Authorization. So there comes the granting permissions, right? So you allow users to access AWS services by granting authentication, and you assign those permissions by creating policies. Permissions determine which resources and operations are allowed to be used. And IAM is global. It is not the region-specific service. It applies to all AWS regions. Multi-factor authentication. Can anybody tell me, have I demonstrated this to you? I think I have demonstrated MFA to you. Have I? Okay, anyway, I will not. Yes, okay. Lucky is saying no, Mihir is saying yes. Fine. So not definitely today, but maybe in the upcoming session, I will talk about it. How to assign multi-factor authentication to user. Probably Lucky, you are absent on that day. Okay. IAM implementation. IAM user. Today I have shown you how to create the user. So root user first is going to create the admin user for himself, and then admin user will use to create that other user's account, right? So then you safeguard the root user's credential. Don't share it, just lock it, right? So that is what I mean by safeguarding. We create groups. Groups are collection of IAM user. No default group exists. Okay, there is no default group created. Groups cannot be nested. What exactly it means? You cannot create another group inside that group. So which is possible in our Windows operating system. You can create one group inside other. But in AWS, nesting is not possible. Users can belong to multiple groups. You specify permission for the entire group. You define permission by using policies. So everything I have demonstrated you today. So here see the example. They have created 3 groups. One is admins group, other is developers group, and third is test group. So Anna, Zhang, and Jane are the members of test group. Matteo, Shirley, and Sophia belongs to developers group, and Lee and Paulo belongs to admins group. Okay. So a single person can be member of multiple groups as well. Then role, we will talk about this role. Even today I was elaborating this one. So it is just it is used to delegate access to AWS resources. It is going to provide temporary access. Okay, it is not the permanent permission. It is the temporary access. Have permissions that are defined by IAM policy. So just like we attach policies to users and group, similarly we attach policies or permissions to the role. I will demonstrate you in the next session. Okay, so it is always a good practice to use roles instead of attaching permissions directly. And see, now this we have elaborated to some extent today. How IAM determines permission. So initially it is going to check. So I have already shown you that everything is implicitly denied. So no permission is been defined. So if it is not, you have not given any allow permission, have you given any deny permission? So just like the S3 bucket we have done today, S3 service. So is there any deny permission explicitly? If yes, then deny will take place. But if you have not denied anything, so have you allowed anything? So in today's session, we have given administrator access, right? So if yes, then allow permission will come in picture. But if no, then again deny will be. So we have tested this entirely. So this is how the policy logic works in our AWS. So IAM policy is a statement which is written in JSON, right? So it is attached to IAM entity such as user, group of role. Policies authorize the action that an entity might or might not perform. A single policy can be attached to multiple entities. A single entity can have multiple policies attached to it. Yeah, both is going to work. So I want you to read everything. And this is how the policy works. Today I have shown you. So this is the allow permission. So it can effect can be either allow or deny. Okay. So if allow is there, then what actions you are permitting? For example, here DynamoDB all actions and S3 all actions has been permitted, but on what resources? So it is not asterisk again, but it is on specific bucket. Okay. And again, deny is there. So DynamoDB is denied, but it is not resource. I think it will take a lot of time for me to discuss this one. Let us discuss this in our next session, okay? Because this is very, very important. So this particular part, okay, this part is very important. We will discuss this in our coming session. But for the timing, what I want you to read what description they have given. So today I have shown you how to create the policy, how to attach the policy to the user as well as group. Not role, but we will see in our upcoming topic. Okay. And there is one IAM demonstration as well. So I think there is one short video and that you are going to see. So what are two ways you can use IAM to access AWS services? Either the AWS management console or programmatic access. What are some examples of type of security? Credentials, username, password, multi-factor authentication, access key ID and secret key ID are the security credential. What is the difference between IAM user, role and a group? IAM user is an entity that you can create in AWS that provides a way to interact with AWS. An IAM role specifies permission that define which actions can be taken against a given resource, and group is collection of user. Now see, only user can authenticate himself. Okay, you cannot log in with the role. You cannot log in with the group. A user can log in with just the IAM user credential, and then comes the permissions. So role and groups are going to define what permission that user is having. Okay, so I have taken it little bit fast, but don't worry, we are going to come across that once again. I just wanted to complete one KC today, and that was the little bit fast I have taken that. Okay, so let us go for the KC. Okay, I want you to go for 289 KC. And even I want you to read everything. I have not read everything on that slide, but please go through that because it is very, very important. I will talk about that explicit deny option in our upcoming session. So maybe day after tomorrow, we will discuss that. Okay, what is the goal of identity management?
Fourth, fourth one.
Administer users and their access permission. Lucky is saying 2. Identify all systems that can be accessed by user. So fourth is the correct option. Administer users and their access permission is the correct answer. Which security steps are performed during a typical login and select 2? What happens in login process? Yes, authentication and authorization. Very good. So first and third is the correct answer. What is the example of authentication factor? So for sure it is multi-factor authentication. Okay, second is the correct option. Where do you define the actions that may or may not be performed by a user? Where are you going to define those actions.
Ma'am, second.
Second, in a policy document which is attached to the user. Very good. And what is the best practice for identity management? Identity management.
Third.
Implement password policy, avoid single sign-on, definitely not good. Manage passwords manually, again not good. Use group accounts, definitely not good. So second, third and fourth are no options. Okay, so they are not at all going to follow they are not at all good for the security or identity management. So yes, implement password policy is best for your security. Okay, folks. So a little bit faster, but we have completed this Casey as well. And I'm happy that you have given me the correct answer. So we will elaborate this topic once again a day after tomorrow. Okay, fine. So, and again, we will start detection phase. Now it will be little bit a quick one. It will not take much time. This was the bigger one, but otherwise it will not take much time. Okay, fine. So see you then. Any question? Okay, thank you. And I will see you now on today is Thursday, right? Wednesday. Sorry. Today is Wednesday. So I will see you on Friday now. Thank you.
Thank you.